Saturday, watching games, enjoying myself, nice Saturday, cup of tea, nice breakfast, and then boom, Canada Soccer drop another social post, this time from Kevin Blue, outlining the financial realities of the current predicament. I think it's fair to say. All the money they're losing, they lost, $4 million they expect to lose in 2024. And at this point, he just acknowledges the issue and how that can't continue under the current losses. They need to really boost annual revenues by between $10 and $12 million. Kevin Blue said he'd be transparent. Great, didn't he, when he first got the job? So far, he's being very transparent. I think the fans appreciate this. It's nothing we didn't really know, given that article came out from Rick Westhead a couple of weeks ago now. And we know the issues financially for Canada Soccer. But did anything turn your head from that?
No, not really, except the fact that he's continuing to do what I think anybody in that position doing the right things, right thing would be doing, and that's communication with alumni, with people within the association, with potential coaches, with the CBA, CSB. He's got an awful lot on his plate. I did get a chance to talk to him last week. I know we've all had a chance, Jimmy and Dubs as well. He's a pretty impressive guy, and he knows what he has to deal with, and he knows that communication is a big one, to make sure that they sit down with the players, both sides, the men and the women, and figure out what's going on, and make sure that some of this misinformation that I think that they've been given is cleared up.
Yeah,
that's the first thing he's got to do.
I like him, and I like his approach. And the one thing that I like is that he said, there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of people talking, and he goes, and I want to stop all this, all the nonsense of people pretending that they know what's going on. And he goes, when you hear me speak, I'm telling you exactly what's happening. And I will be totally transparent. So anything coming from my mouth is 100% accurate. And whatever you're hearing from on the outside, take it with a grain of salt. And I like that. And he's been true to his word so far. He's putting everything out there, and he's being honest and upfront. And I like that. I love that approach.
I think the fact that he comes from somewhere else in many ways helps him. Like, he's not a soccer guy and originally a football guy, and he's going to learn that side of things. But I think the fact that he's coming from another, Golf Canada and something completely different, it almost helps him. And I think people listen to him because, like, hey, I'm having a look at this. I'm going to be open. I'm going to be transparent. This is a situation that's not sustainable. These are the things I need to do. Boom, 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 boom. And he's doing them. And his days are busy.
At the same time, though, we need to get answers at some point, right? He's new in the job. When he starts getting answers and we hear from him, that'll be the really interesting part, I think, Dubs. He says that he's got 2 proposals on the table regarding increase in registrations, licensing, which I think will be voted on at the AGM in May. He's going to meet with CSB shortly as well. There'll be interesting meetings as well. What was your take from the statement?
I don't know if I have a whole lot to add other than what Jimmy and Forrest said. I think that, for the registration fees, I don't think they've been raised since 2019. So I think
17, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah.
I think it was 17.
Okay.
17.
So it's time to do that. I mean, remember the last time that was attempted, Bontis ended up resigning, right? So I don't think we'll see a similar result there, but I think it's time to raise them a little bit, at least to reflect inflation. But Forrest, what you said, I think coming from a different space, coming from Golf Canada, I tend to agree with you that gives him a different perspective, and it allows him to kind of pull from different approaches and experiences. But I think that he's in for a little bit of a reality check, because his wanting to create an engine to drive revenue into Canada Soccer. He's talked about, the sponsorship engine, and he's talked about the philanthropy engine. And coming from the NCAA and coming from alumni associations and coming from that world myself, or having lived it, being in Nebraska, JP went to Princeton, and he still gets like the the flyers quarterly saying, give to the Alumni Association. Like, Canada just does not have the same amount of money that the US does. We just don't have it. So this philanthropy sector that he wants to start, where are you getting all that money from? Like, I mean, there might be individuals like your Greg Kerfoots, but those are the outliers. You're not going to be able to create a foundation of people like that in order to create this robust sector of revenue. So I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that he's going to find that there's not a tremendous amount of money to mine in this country for people to fund sport. And our government does not fund sports the way that it should. I mean, across the board, our NSOs are drowning because they're poorly run, because there's a culture of abuse. They're broken, but they don't get the proper amount of funding from our government. So, we're at a point right now where I think he's going to realize that there's not, you can't, what's the expression? You can't get blood from a stone. Like, he's not going to be able to find that money. Like, I'm not sure where it's going to come from.
Do you think the government will be obligated to up funding with a World Cup on the horizon? The world's watching, right? At this point, got to advertise your country, your sporting culture, and like you said, right now it's broken in so many regards. I mean, is there a way that the government can step in here?
From the political side of things, the government will do whatever they think they can get votes for, what the people think that is going to be a positive outcome for them, regardless of whether it's right or wrong or not.
Election 2026, right?
And quite honestly, I think there's probably more negativity for a politician around the World Cup and with the expectations of certain losses and whatnot. I'm not sure they're going to step up and do anything, to be honest with you.
And there should be some legacy funding from FIFA as well. And then another aspect of his announcement there was that Canada Soccer will be directing funding towards the launch of Project 8, which it also did for CPL. So it continues to earmark funds for CPL. And then CPL also receives money from a FIFA program, I believe, FIFA Forward program, which creates opportunities for Canadian players for their domestic football. So, I mean, is that, something that should be acknowledged? I mean, in terms of look what they're doing for Project 8. I just think that this is something that they should be doing because finally a domestic women's pro league is coming. So, your association should be funding it in some regard because it's doing the same for its male component, right? But I mean, it's being held out as like, oh, this is terrific. Look what they're doing. But this should be something that is part of their mandate.
Yeah, Project 8 was born because there was no backing, right? And no progressive approach for women's soccer in this country. That's why they started Project 8. So it's great that Canada's jumping aboard now. It's fantastic, but it's kind of late in some regards, isn't it? I guess they're seeing the writing on the wall, that this is actually going to be something that could work. Let's get involved now. And listen, it's a new leadership group, right? So they can say that. Listen, that wasn't us.
Kevin Blue, can I ask, did Kevin Blue reach out to you yet?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
JC, has Kevin Blue reached out to you yet?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. So that's 4 out of the 6 of us, Kevin.
Yes, JC, he was interested in the full-time position at JC, and JC apparently turned it down.
I had, I was flattered. I've got things. I got other things going on, So, but thanks again, K-Man. Appreciate you.
K-Man. It's pretty tight. K-Man. Yeah, no, well, listen, it's early days, isn't it? So it's going to be interesting where the money comes from. CSB have been saying for a long time the money isn't there. Well, they still also acknowledge they need to rework that deal. And so does Kevin Blue. So I don't know how it looks, but subscriptions, I mean, how much are you talking here? Like, what are they right now for the average player? I know it goes beyond just player subs. I know that. What is it right now?
I think it's $9.
Is it $9? Right. And there's over 1 million registered? That used to be the numbers thrown around. Not sure if it still is. So you can get a fair amount. 800,000, is it? Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
So there's opportunity, but it's also genders at play, right? At every level of football and the provincial level, club level. So that's not, it's not definitely something that will be passed at the AGM. I think in the past, right, Jimmy, it failed, right? They tried to push for it and it was voted down.
Well, it's not as easy as what you think it is, because it's got to get voted. And that discussion will be with the provincial bodies, and then it'll go down to the regional bodies and then to the local organizations. So it's a lot of people and a lot of weeds you got to go through in order to make something happen, especially when it has to get voted.
A lot of weed should be smoked before voting.
Craig Forrest should be on that committee.
Yeah.
The navigation committee for that.
We need a cannabis company to sponsor, right?
Well, you know, the problem is too, like even with your local organization, anything that you want to get passed has to go through the board. Okay. And for instance, you always get a divide with the local clubs within that board, because the people that are involved with the house league programs, recreational, and the people that are involved in the competitive side, a lot of the times they don't see eye to eye. Because the competitive side are the ones really that would end up supporting the pro teams, would end up supporting the national team, because that is kind of their pathway. And those individuals that play the competitive side don't mind spending that little bit extra money because they know it's going to the future of the game and it's helping their kids out. The recreational side now is that people are paying just for their kids to go play once a week. They don't really care about the game. They don't care about the national team program. And I'm not saying everybody, but the majority of them don't. They're there just to have fun. So when you're asking for more money in that the house league programs, and you're saying, well, this money now is going to go a little bit to the competitive, it's going to go to the national team, then you always tend to get a problem and an issue, because they're going, well, we don't care about that. So why am I paying for it? And why do I have to fund this? And that's where a lot of the divides are with the local clubs, is the house league and the competitive programs, because they don't see eye to eye.
Like you and your mic.
There's a lot of pressure and like you say, weeds to get through to get 50 cents more out of it, people. So it's
100%.
It's not going to solve all our problems either. But it is a step to.
But hopefully they can manage it and they can work through it and get the money that they're looking for.
What's
so
that
much is
old,
contingent. Go ahead.
Sorry, what was that old? You can't squeeze blood out of common feces. Was that what it was?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Unless you're really sick.
There's a lot of fecal matter flying around Wonger's head today.
That's a lot. No, but so much obviously involves the labor dispute as well, right? And what the players' demands will be, how much they want, because there isn't a ton of money in Canadian football, and if they want a lot of it, there's less elsewhere. So many levels here to play with. Do you see? I saw a report on Twitter just before I came on today about Valor and Pacific being up for sale in CPL, which is interesting. Is it a concern? I don't know. There's foreign investment interested. We saw that with York, of course, and the acquisition a few months ago. Also, Pacific is also owned by the Vancouver owners, right? Which isn't ideal. So it kind of makes sense that at some point that would be sold. But we'll keep an eye on that one. Any thoughts on that, anyone, before we move on here?
I find it's a little bit strange. I mean, they go and expand and get Vancouver involved, and now they want to sell Pacific.
You know, it's a little bit worrisome as well. I think, you know, when you never want to hear that with teams getting sold, or, you know, especially after 5-6 years, leagues being so young. You've already had Edmonton that's folded. Now Valor's kind of up for sale. Pacific's up for sale. York was up for sale as well. Unfortunately, they had a great ownership group that's come in and bought it. But I'm sure behind the scenes, everyone at the CPL will be working tremendously hard to make sure that they get the right owners to come in, buy these clubs, and keep the league going in the direction that they want.
I think it's important to note as well that it doesn't mean that they're going anywhere, that they're in danger of disappearing the way that Edmonton did, right? It just means that they're looking for different ownership.
Yeah. And the league's willing to take ownership, take control of a club in the short term, as we saw with York, to make sure they find that right owner. So, and Valor's been mentioned before. This isn't news. The same, I think they're owned by the same owners as the Blue Bombers. Right? Yeah. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that one, certainly. And CPL kicks off on the 13th, so a week this Saturday. And we will be doing a special CPL show, getting set for the new season. Got some names from the CPL involved and signed up for that.